The dust cloud appeared on the horizon just as the noon sun turned the desert into a shimmering furnace, and Benjamin Oakley squinted from beneath his worn Stetson as he watched a lone figure stumble toward his ranch, with the determination of someone who had already decided that falling down was not an option. He set down the fence post he had been securing and walked toward the approaching stranger, his hand instinctively resting near the revolver at his hip. This was New Mexico territory in 1878, and caution kept a man alive. As the figure drew closer, Benjamin realized it was a woman, her dress torn and dusty, her dark hair falling loose from what had once been a neat bun. She carried nothing except a small bundle clutched to her chest, and when she finally reached the edge of his property, she looked up at him with eyes that held something he recognized instantly, because he had seen it in his own mirror after surviving the war. Pure, undiluted courage. "Water," she said, her voice cracked but steady. "Please." Benjamin brought her to the well without a word, drawing up a bucket and watching as she drank carefully, not gulping despite what must have been desperate thirst. That told him something about her. Desperate people made mistakes. This woman was thinking clearly even in crisis. "Name is Benjamin Oakley," he said when she had finished drinking. "This is my ranch about 8 miles outside Lordsburg." "Diana Fairmont," she replied, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. "I walked from the stagecoach road." There was an accident. The coach overturned in a wash, and the driver said we should all head toward Lordsburg on foot, but I saw your ranch buildings and thought it was closer. Benjamin looked back toward the direction she had come from. "How many were on that coach?" "Just me and the driver." "He went the other direction, said he knew a way. I chose to come this way." She straightened her shoulders despite the obvious exhaustion. "I have no money to pay you for the water. The accident took my trunk. Everything I owned was in it." He studied her for a long moment. She was probably in her mid-20s, with a face that showed both refinement and something harder underneath, like steel wrapped in silk. "Where were you headed?" "Lordsburg. I was going to teach at the school. They hired me by letter correspondence." She met his gaze directly. "I still intend to take that position if they will have me, even though I have arrived with nothing but the clothes on my back." Benjamin felt something shift in his chest, a sensation he had not experienced in the 5 years since he had settled this land. "That takes courage." "Courage is all I have left," Diana said simply. "My parents died of fever last year in Kansas. I sold everything to pay their debts and buy a ticket west to start over. That trunk held my 3 dresses, my teaching certificates, and a photograph of my mother. Now I suppose I will arrive in Lordsburg wearing rags and holding nothing but courage." The words hung in the air between them, and Benjamin found himself saying something he had not planned. "That is all anyone really needs. Everything else can be built." She looked at him with surprise, as if she had expected judgment or pity rather than understanding. "You believe that?" "I fought for 3 years in a war that took everything from me except my life," Benjamin said. "I came to New Mexico with a horse, a rifle, and the determination not to give up. Built this ranch from nothing. So yes, I believe that courage is the only thing that matters when you are starting over." Diana's eyes softened, and for the first time she smiled. It transformed her face, chasing away the exhaustion and revealing genuine warmth. "Then perhaps I will manage after all. You need rest before you walk another 8 miles, Benjamin said, making a decision that felt both reckless and absolutely right. "I have a spare room in the house. It was meant to be a guest room, though I have never had a guest. You can clean up, rest for a few hours, and I will drive you into Lordsburg this evening in my wagon." "I could not impose," Diana protested, but he could see the relief in her eyes. "No imposition. I need to go into town anyway for supplies." That was not entirely true, but it was not entirely false either. He always needed something from town. Besides, you helped me make a decision I have been avoiding. What decision? Whether this place would ever be a home or just a piece of land with buildings on it, Benjamin said honestly. A home has guests, it has people passing through, it has life beyond just work and survival. Diana looked at him with an expression he could not quite read. You have been alone here. 5 years, he confirmed. I have ranch hands who come during roundup and branding, but otherwise, yes. Alone. That must be difficult. It was what I thought I wanted after the war, Benjamin admitted, surprising himself with his candor. Peace and quiet and no one depending on me. But lately, I have been wondering if I confused isolation with peace. She nodded slowly. I understand that. After my parents died, I thought I wanted to disappear into a small town where no one knew me, where I could be invisible. But on that stagecoach, before the accident, I realized I did not want to be invisible. I wanted to matter again. Benjamin gestured toward the house, a sturdy adobe structure he had built himself. Come on, you can wash up and rest. I have some stew left from yesterday that I can heat up. Diana followed him across the yard, her steps careful but determined. The ranch was neat and well maintained, Benjamin noticed with pride, seeing it through her eyes. The barn was solid, the corral fences strong, the house itself positioned to catch the evening breeze. He had built something real here, even if he had been too isolated to fully appreciate it. Inside, the house was sparse but clean. Benjamin showed Diana to the small guest room which contained a simple bed, a chair, and a washstand. I will bring you some water to wash with. The necessary is out back. Take your time. She touched the quilt on the bed, her fingers tracing the pattern. Did you make this? My mother did, Benjamin said quietly. It is one of the few things I kept from before. It is beautiful. Diana looked up at him. You are very kind to help me, Mr. Oakley. Benjamin, he corrected. And you are walking 8 miles in the desert heat with nothing. Kindness is the least anyone should offer. He brought her a basin of water and left her to rest, returning to the main room where he stood at the window, watching the desert shimmer in the afternoon heat. Something had shifted today, he could feel it. This woman appearing out of the dust had cracked something open inside him. Some door he had kept firmly locked since the war. Benjamin heated the stew and set out bread, then checked on the horses and finished the fence work he had abandoned. When he returned to the house 2 hours later, Diana emerged from the guest room looking refreshed despite still wearing the torn dress. She had pinned her hair back up and washed the dust from her face. I hope you were able to rest, he said. I did, thank you. Your home is very peaceful. She looked around the main room with its simple furniture and the books stacked on a shelf. You read, it passes the evenings. Benjamin ladled stew into 2 bowls. Sit, please, you need food before we travel to town. They ate in comfortable silence at first, then Diana asked, What made you choose New Mexico? I wanted somewhere that felt different from everything I had known, Benjamin explained. I grew up in Missouri, fought in Virginia and Tennessee, too many memories in those places. New Mexico felt like a blank slate. And has it been? He considered the question carefully. Mostly, the land does not care about your past. It only cares whether you are strong enough to survive it. That felt fair to me. I suppose that is why I chose it too, Diana said. Kansas held too many memories. Every street corner reminded me of my parents, of what I had lost. I wanted somewhere new where I could build something without constantly comparing it to what came before. Teaching is a good profession for that, Benjamin observed. You help shape the future rather than dwelling in the past. That is what I hope. She paused, then said, May I ask you something personal? Go ahead. Do you ever regret coming here, Living so isolated, Benjamin set down his spoon, thinking about his answer. I did not until recently. The isolation felt like safety. But this past year, I have started to feel like I am hiding rather than healing. Today, talking to you, I realize how much I have missed simply having a conversation with another person about something other than cattle prices or water rights. Diana smiled. I am grateful to provide that then. You have given me food and shelter and hope. The least I can do is offer conversation. You have given me something too, Benjamin said. A reminder that courage matters more than circumstances. I think I had forgotten that. They finished eating, and Benjamin hitched his 2 horses to the wagon while Diana waited in the shade of the porch. The afternoon was beginning to cool slightly as they set out toward Lordsburg, the wagon wheels crunching over the rocky ground. Diana sat beside him on the bench seat, her posture straight despite the long day. Tell me about Lordsburg, she said as they traveled. The letters I received from the school board were not very descriptive. It is a small town, maybe 300 people, Benjamin said. Started as a railroad stop and grew from there. The school has about 20 students, though that number goes up and down depending on whether families stay or move on. There is a general store, a hotel, 2 saloons, a church, and a handful of other businesses. Most people are decent, though like anywhere, there are some who cause trouble. And the teacher I am replacing, Mrs. Henderson. Her husband got offered a job in California, so they moved last month. The school board has been scrambling to find a replacement before the fall term. Benjamin glanced at her. They will be very grateful you arrived, even without your trunk. I hope so, Diana said softly. I truly have nothing else. You have more than you think, Benjamin told her. You have education, determination, and the courage to start over. That is more than most people can claim. The sun was setting by the time they reached Lordsburg, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The town was quiet in the evening hour, with only a few people on the street. Benjamin drove the wagon directly to the small house behind the schoolhouse where the teacher traditionally lived. This will be your home, he said, helping Diana down from the wagon. Let me introduce you to Mr. Patterson. He heads the school board. They found Jacob Patterson at the general store which he owned. He was a portly man in his 50s with kind eyes and a welcoming manner. His face lit up when Benjamin explained who Diana was. Miss Fairmont, we are delighted you have arrived, Patterson said, shaking her hand enthusiastically. We were beginning to worry. You were expected 3 days ago. There was a stagecoach accident, Diana explained. I lost my luggage and it delayed my arrival. I am very sorry for any inconvenience. Patterson waved away her concern. The important thing is you are here and unharmed. We can sort out the luggage issue. Let me show you the teacher's quarters and the schoolhouse. Benjamin followed as Patterson led them to the small house. It was simple but adequate, with 2 rooms and basic furniture. The schoolhouse next door was a single large room with desks, a blackboard, and shelves of books. Classes start in 2 weeks, Patterson said. That should give you time to settle in and prepare. The salary is $30 a month plus this housing. I know it is not much, but it is steady work. It is generous, Diana assured him. I am grateful for the opportunity. Patterson looked at her torn dress and lack of belongings, clearly curious but too polite to pry. If you need anything to get started, just let me know. The school board wants you to feel welcome. Actually, Benjamin said before he could stop himself, I may have some things that could help. My mother's clothes are still in a trunk at my ranch. She was about Miss Fairmont's size. They have just been sitting unused for years. Diana turned to him with surprise. Benjamin, I could not ask you to give away your mother's belongings. You did not ask, I offered. He met her eyes. My mother would have wanted her things to be useful rather than gathering dust. Besides, you need dresses and I have them sitting in storage. It makes practical sense. Are you certain? I am. And he was. The idea of his mother's carefully made dresses being worn by this courageous woman felt right in a way he could not fully explain. Patterson looked between them with interest. Well, that is very generous of you, Oakley. Miss Fairmont, why do you not settle in tonight, and perhaps Benjamin can bring those items tomorrow? I can do that, Benjamin agreed. I need to return to the ranch tonight, but I will come back tomorrow afternoon. After Patterson left, Diana walked Benjamin back to his wagon. The evening air was cooling rapidly, and stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Thank you, Diana said quietly, for everything today. You saved my life by giving me water and rest, and now you are offering your mother's clothes. I do not know how to repay such kindness. No repayment needed, Benjamin said, but I do have one request. What is it? Have dinner with me tomorrow when I bring the trunk. There is a decent restaurant in town. I would like to hear how your first day of settling in goes. Diana smiled, and even in the dim light, Benjamin could see the warmth in her expression. I would like that very much. He climbed onto the wagon, then paused. Diana, what you said today about coming with nothing but courage, I have been thinking about it all afternoon. That kind of courage is rare. Most people give up when they lose everything. You did not. That tells me you are going to do just fine here. I hope you are right, she said, but I feel less afraid knowing there is at least one friend here. You have a friend, Benjamin confirmed. I will see you tomorrow. He drove back to the ranch under the stars, his mind full of thoughts about dark eyes and quiet courage. The house felt emptier than usual when he returned, and he found himself looking at his mother's trunk for the first time in years. Opening it released the faint scent of lavender, and he carefully removed the 5 dresses his mother had made, each one a testament to her skill with a needle. Benjamin held up a blue calico dress with white buttons, remembering his mother wearing it to church. She had been a strong woman, a pioneer who had crossed the plains in a wagon and built a life on the frontier. She would have liked Diana, he thought. She would have recognized a kindred spirit. That night, he slept better than he had in months, and he woke with a sense of purpose he had not felt in years. After completing his morning chores, Benjamin carefully packed his mother's dresses in the trunk, adding some practical items he thought Diana might need. A warm shawl, a pair of gloves, some handkerchiefs his mother had embroidered. The ride to Lordsburg felt shorter than usual, and he found himself eager to see Diana again. When he arrived at the teacher's house that afternoon, she answered the door wearing the same torn dress but with her hair neatly arranged and her face bright with energy. Benjamin, come in. I have been cleaning and organizing all morning. She looked at the trunk he carried. Is that it? My mother's things, he confirmed, setting the trunk inside. I hope they fit. Diana opened the trunk reverently, her hands gentle on the folded fabrics. When she saw the dresses, her eyes filled with tears. Benjamin, these are beautiful. Your mother was so talented. She was, he agreed, and practical. She always said clothes should be both beautiful and functional. Diana lifted the blue calico dress, holding it against herself. I think it will fit. Oh, Benjamin, this is too much. It is exactly enough, he said firmly. You need clothes, and these need to be worn. My mother would be happy knowing they are helping someone start a new life. She set down the dress and impulsively hugged him. Benjamin froze for a moment, then carefully returned the embrace. She smelled like soap and sunshine, and he felt something warm unfold in his chest. Thank you, Diana whispered. You have given me back my dignity. You never lost it, Benjamin said. Dignity is not about what you wear. It is about how you carry yourself. You had that even covered in dust. Diana stepped back, wiping her eyes. I need to compose myself before dinner, or people will think the new schoolteacher is unstable. People will think the new schoolteacher is human, Benjamin corrected. Which is a good thing. Now, are you ready for that dinner? The restaurant here serves a decent roast chicken. Let me change into one of these dresses first. I refuse to go out in public looking like I survived a stagecoach accident. You did survive a stagecoach accident. Yes, but I do not need to advertise it. Diana picked up the blue dress. Give me 10 minutes. Benjamin waited outside, watching the town go about its evening business. When Diana emerged, he had to catch his breath. The blue dress fit her perfectly, emphasizing her figure and complementing her dark hair. She looked beautiful and confident, no trace of the dusty, exhausted woman from yesterday. "Will I do?" she asked, a hint of nervousness in her voice. "You look wonderful," Benjamin said honestly. "Shall we?" The restaurant was busy with the evening crowd, and Benjamin noticed the curious looks as he escorted Diana inside. Lordsburg was small enough that everyone noticed strangers, especially attractive women. He chose a table near the window and helped Diana with her chair. "I think we are causing quite a stir," Diana murmured, observing the glances. "Small town," Benjamin said. "New schoolteacher arriving with the local hermit rancher is probably the most interesting thing that has happened in weeks." "Hermit rancher?" Diana raised an eyebrow. "Is that how people see you?" "Probably accurate," Benjamin admitted. "I come to town once a month for supplies, attend the occasional town meeting, and otherwise keep to myself. People think I am odd." "I do not think you are odd," Diana said. "I think you are someone who needed time and space to heal. There is nothing wrong with that." The waitress came to take their order, and Benjamin noticed how she looked between him and Diana with unconcealed curiosity. After she left, he said, "By morning, the whole town will have decided we are courting." Diana blushed. "Does that bother you? Does it bother you?" he countered. "I suppose it depends on whether it is entirely inaccurate," Diana said carefully. Benjamin felt his heart rate increase. "What do you mean?" "I mean that in the 24 hours since I stumbled onto your ranch, I have felt more alive and hopeful than I have in years," Diana said, meeting his eyes. "You have been kind and generous, yes, but it is more than that. I feel like you see me, truly see me in a way most people do not. And I think perhaps you feel something similar." "I do," Benjamin admitted. "From the moment you arrived, demanding water with that look in your eyes like you would fight the devil himself for it, I felt something shift. I thought I had chosen isolation, but talking with you made me realize I had just been waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For someone brave enough to walk through the desert with nothing but courage," he said. "For someone who understands that everything can be lost and life still goes on. For someone who does not look at scars and see damage, but sees survival." Diana reached across the table and took his hand. "I am glad I walked toward your ranch instead of following that driver." "So am I," Benjamin said, turning his hand to clasp hers properly. "Diana, I know this is fast, and I know you just arrived and have a new job starting. I do not want to complicate your life, but I also do not want to pretend I do not feel what I feel." "What do you feel?" she asked softly. "Like I have been waiting for you without knowing it," Benjamin said. "Like the past 5 years of isolation were just preparation for being ready when you arrived. I know that sounds insane." "It sounds perfect," Diana said, her eyes shining, "because I feel the same way. When I was walking through that desert, I kept thinking I should be terrified. I had lost everything again, and I was alone in a hostile environment. But I felt calm, like I was walking toward something important. When I saw your ranch, I felt relief, but also recognition, like I had finally arrived where I was supposed to be." Their food arrived, and they ate while talking about everything and nothing. their childhoods, their dreams, the books they had read, the places they hoped to see someday. Benjamin found himself laughing more than he had in years, and Diana's face was animated with joy and interest. "Tell me about your ranch," she said as they finished eating. "What do you raise?" "Cattle mostly, some horses. I have about 200 head of cattle and 30 horses. The land is good for grazing despite the heat, and there is a creek that runs through the property year-round. I built the house and barn myself the first year, nearly killed myself doing it, but it was satisfying to create something with my own hands. Do you have help?" "I hire hands during roundup and branding season, usually 3 or 4 men. Otherwise, I manage alone. It is hard work, but I like it." "Every day has purpose." Benjamin paused. "Though I have been thinking lately about expanding, maybe building up the horse breeding side. There is good money in selling trained horses to the army and to ranchers." "That sounds like a solid plan," Diana said. "You clearly have a talent for building things from nothing." "Not just things," Benjamin said quietly. "I would like to build a real life too, a home with people in it, not just a house with one person rattling around." Diana's expression softened. "I would like that too. After my parents died, I felt like I had lost any chance at a real family. But maybe that is not true. Maybe family is something we can build, just like anything else." They walked slowly back to the teacher's house through the warm evening, their hands brushing occasionally until Benjamin finally took hers properly. Diana laced their fingers together, and they walked in comfortable silence. At her door, Benjamin hesitated. "May I call on you again?" "Properly, I mean, courting visits." "I would be disappointed if you did not," Diana said. "But Benjamin, I need to be honest about something. I have a job now, and this community is trusting me to teach their children. I cannot afford any scandal or impropriety. If we are courting, it needs to be respectful and proper." "I understand completely," Benjamin assured her. "I will do everything correctly. Chaperoned visits, public meetings, slow and proper." "I want to build something real with you, Diana, not rush into something that could harm your reputation or your position." "Thank you." She squeezed his hand. "I want to explore what this is between us, but I also need to establish myself here. Can you be patient with that?" "I waited 5 years in isolation without even knowing I was waiting for something," Benjamin said. "I can be patient now that I know what I am waiting for." Diana smiled and rose on her toes to kiss his cheek. "Then I will see you soon, Mr. Oakley." "Soon, Miss Fairmont," he agreed, reluctantly releasing her hand. The ride back to the ranch felt longer than usual, but Benjamin did not mind. His thoughts were full of dark eyes and a bright smile, of courage and new beginnings. When he reached home, he looked at his house and saw it differently. It was no longer just a shelter. It was the beginning of something larger, something that could become a true home. Over the next 2 weeks, Benjamin found reasons to come to Lordsburg every few days. He would bring Diana fresh vegetables from his garden, or offer to help with repairs at the schoolhouse, or simply appear at the proper visiting hours to sit in her parlor and talk. The town noticed, and the gossip was generally favorable. People like Diana, who proved to be an excellent teacher with a warm manner and high standards. They also approved of Benjamin finally emerging from his isolation. About time Oakley found someone, Benjamin overheard at the general store. "Man needs more in life than cattle." Diana threw herself into preparing for the school term, and Benjamin watched her blossom. She organized the schoolroom, planned lessons, and met with parents. Her natural warmth and intelligence won people over quickly, and by the time school started, she had the full support of the community. Benjamin attended the first day of school, sitting in the back to watch Diana teach. She was magnificent, commanding the attention of 20 children ranging from 6 to 14 years old. She made learning engaging and fun, but also maintained discipline with a firm kindness. When she caught his eye during a break, her smile made his heart race. After school, he waited for the children to leave before approaching her. "You were wonderful. Thank you." Diana looked around the empty classroom with satisfaction. "I had forgotten how much I love teaching. It feels like I am exactly where I am supposed to be." "You are," Benjamin said. "The children adore you already, and the parents are singing your praises." "I heard you have been getting compliments too," Diana said, her eyes twinkling. "Apparently, courting me has made you popular. Mrs. Patterson told me today that you are showing all the single men in town how it should be done." Benjamin felt his face heat. "I am just trying to do right by you. I know, and I appreciate it more than you know." Diana moved closer. "Benjamin, I have been thinking. I do not want to rush anything, but I also do not want to waste time being coy about how I feel. These past 2 weeks have been wonderful. You have been respectful and patient, but I also sense you holding back. I want you to know that while I need propriety in public, in private I am ready for you to tell me what you truly want." Benjamin looked into her eyes and saw the same courage that had first drawn him to her. "I want to marry you. I know it is fast, and I know we are still learning about each other, but I feel more certain about this than anything in my life. I want to build a life with you, Diana. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want to expand the ranch and fill that house with love and laughter and maybe children someday. I want everything, and I want it with you." Diana's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "I want that too, all of it. When I walked through that desert, I felt like my life was over. But it was really just beginning. Meeting you was not an accident, Benjamin. It was fate or providence or whatever you want to call it. We were meant to find each other." "Then marry me," Benjamin said. "Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. Let me court you properly for a few more weeks so no one can say we rushed. Let you finish establishing yourself here. But then marry me and let us start building that life together." "Yes," Diana said simply. "Yes to all of it." Benjamin pulled her into his arms, holding her close and breathing in the scent of her hair. She fit against him perfectly, like a puzzle piece he had not known was missing. When he pulled back to kiss her, it felt like coming home after a long journey. They set a date for early November, giving Diana 2 months to establish herself at the school and allowing time for proper planning. The engagement was announced, and Lordsburg celebrated the news. People were charmed by the story of the schoolteacher who had arrived with nothing and captured the heart of the solitary rancher. During those 2 months, Benjamin and Diana spent every possible moment together. He taught her to ride horses, and she proved to be a natural horsewoman with a gentle hand and fearless seat. She visited the ranch on weekends, always properly chaperoned by Mrs. Patterson or another respectable woman from town, and helped Benjamin plan improvements to the house. "We need more windows," Diana said one Saturday, walking through the rooms. "And this kitchen is too small. If we are going to have a family, we need space to gather." "I can build an addition," Benjamin said. "Expand the kitchen and add a proper dining room, maybe add another bedroom too." "2 more bedrooms," Diana corrected. "One for us and one for children. We might have more than one eventually." "How many children do you want?" Benjamin asked, amused and touched by her planning. 3 or 4, Diana said thoughtfully. "Enough to fill the house with noise and love." "What about you?" "As many as you are willing to have," Benjamin said. "I like the idea of a full, noisy house after years of silence." They hired a carpenter from town to help with the addition, and Benjamin worked tirelessly to have the improvements finished before the wedding. Diana contributed her own touches, making curtains and selecting paint colors. The house transformed from a bachelor's sparse dwelling into a real home. In town, Diana continued to excel as a teacher. She started an after-school reading group for the older students and organized a community spelling bee that became a hugely popular event. Her warmth and dedication won over even the most skeptical parents, and attendance at the school increased as families heard about the excellent new teacher. "You are going to have to stop being so wonderful," Benjamin teased one evening as they sat on her porch. "You are making me look bad by comparison." "Impossible," Diana said, leaning against his shoulder. "You are the man who took in a desperate stranger and offered her everything without hesitation. You are the standard by which I measure kindness. I just did what anyone should do." "But most people would not have," Diana said seriously. "Most people would have given me water and directions, maybe a ride to town. You offered friendship and support and eventually love. You saw past the desperate circumstances to the person underneath. That is rare, Benjamin." The wedding took place on a perfect November morning, cool and clear with brilliant sunshine. The ceremony was held in Lordsburg's small church, and it seemed like the entire town attended. Diana wore a new dress made by the town seamstress, a beautiful cream-colored creation with lace at the collar and cuffs. Benjamin wore his best suit, his dark hair neatly trimmed and his face shining with happiness. Jacob Patterson gave Diana away, having become a father figure to her during her months in Lordsburg. As he placed her hand in Benjamin's at the altar, he whispered, "Take care of her, Oakley." "With my life," Benjamin promised. The ceremony was simple but heartfelt. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Benjamin kissed Diana with a tenderness that made several women in the congregation sigh with romantic satisfaction. The reception was held at the hotel, with food contributed by half the town and music provided by a local fiddle player. "I have never seen you smile so much," Diana said as they danced together. "I have never had so much reason to smile," Benjamin replied. "Mrs. Oakley." "I like the sound of that," Diana said, "though I will keep using Miss Fairmont at school. The children are used to it, and it maintains professional distance." "Whatever makes you happy," Benjamin said, "though I plan to call you Mrs. Oakley constantly when we are home." "I look forward to it," Diana said, her eyes sparkling with love and anticipation. They left the reception in late afternoon, riding out to the ranch in Benjamin's wagon with tin cans tied to the back and well wishes ringing in their ears. The sun was setting as they arrived, painting the adobe house in golden light. Benjamin lifted Diana down from the wagon and then, without warning, swept her into his arms. "What are you doing?" Diana laughed. "Carrying my bride over the threshold," Benjamin said. "It is tradition." "Then by all means," Diana said, wrapping her arms around his neck. Benjamin carried her inside and set her gently on her feet in the main room. The house glowed with lamplight and warmth, transformed by Diana's touches over the past weeks. It truly felt like a home now, and as Benjamin looked at his wife standing in the center of it, he felt a profound sense of rightness. "Welcome home, Diana," he said softly. "Our home," Diana corrected, moving into his arms. "Everything we build from here, we build together." That night, as they lay together in their marriage bed, Diana traced the scars on Benjamin's chest, remnants of his war years. "Tell me about these," she said gently. "Shrapnel from artillery," Benjamin said. "Nearly killed me. I spent 3 months recovering, and when I was finally released from the hospital, the war was over. I felt like I had lost years of my life to fighting, and I did not know who I was anymore without the war defining me. Do you still feel that way?" "No," Benjamin said, covering her hand with his. "I know exactly who I am now. I am your husband, a rancher, a man building a future instead of running from the past. You helped me see that, Diana. You helped me understand that moving forward does not mean forgetting what came before. It just means not letting it control you. You did the same for me, Diana said. After my parents died, I felt like I had failed them somehow, like I should have been able to save them. I carried that guilt like a weight. But watching you build this ranch from nothing, seeing how you transformed loss into something productive and good, it showed me that survival is not just about enduring. It is about creating something new from the ashes. They talked long into the night, sharing stories and dreams, learning each other's bodies and hearts. When Diana finally fell asleep in Benjamin's arms, he lay awake for a while longer, marveling at how his life had changed in just a few months. The lonely rancher and the desperate woman in the desert had found each other and built something beautiful. The first year of their marriage was filled with hard work and deep joy. Diana continued teaching, and her school became known throughout the territory for its excellence. Benjamin expanded the ranch, investing in better breeding stock and building his horse operation. They worked together on weekends, Diana helping with the horses and Benjamin attending school events to support his wife. They also became more involved in the community. Benjamin joined the town council, using his practical sense and financial acumen to help Lordsburg grow responsibly. Diana started a small library in an unused room at the school, soliciting book donations and organizing reading hours for both children and adults. Together, they hosted dinners at the ranch, bringing people together and building friendships. "I never imagined I could be this happy," Diana told Benjamin one evening as they sat on their porch watching the sunset. "A year ago, I was walking through the desert thinking my life was over. Now I have a home, a husband I adore, work I love, and a community that feels like family." "You have given me just as much," Benjamin said, pulling her close. "You brought life back to this place and to me. I was existing before you arrived. Now I am living." In the spring of their second year together, Diana discovered she was pregnant. The news filled them both with excitement and a touch of fear. Diana was determined to keep teaching as long as possible, and Benjamin hovered protectively, worried about her health. "I am pregnant, not fragile," Diana reminded him gently when he fussed about her riding into town. "Women have been doing this since the beginning of time." "Not my woman," Benjamin said stubbornly. "Not carrying my child." Diana softened at that. "I will be careful, I promise. But I cannot stop living my life. Our child needs to see that their mother is strong and capable." "Our child already knows that," Benjamin said, placing his hand on her still flat stomach. "They come from you. Strength is in their blood." Diana taught through the end of the school year, then took the summer off to prepare for the baby. Benjamin finished a new addition to the house, creating a nursery with windows that caught the morning light. Diana sewed blankets and small clothes, her hands busy with happy preparations. The baby arrived in late September, a healthy boy with dark hair like his mother and his father's strong features. They named him Daniel, and Benjamin held his son with shaking hands and tears running down his face. "He is perfect," Benjamin whispered. "Diana, you are amazing." "We made him together," Diana said, exhausted but glowing. "Our son." Motherhood suited Diana, but she also missed teaching. When Daniel was 6 months old, she worked out an arrangement with the school board. She would teach half-days and misses. Patterson would watch Daniel in the schoolhouse during those hours. It was unconventional, but the community supported it because Diana was so valuable to the school. Benjamin adjusted to fatherhood with a tenderness that surprised him. He had worried he would not know how to be a father, but holding Daniel, teaching him to smile and laugh, watching him grow, felt natural and right. the house filled with the sounds of baby laughter and Diana singing lullabies. And Benjamin found himself grateful every day for the woman who had stumbled into his life with nothing but courage. When Daniel was 2, Diana became pregnant again. This time, the pregnancy was harder and she had to stop teaching earlier. Benjamin worried constantly, but Diana remained calm and confident. "Our second child is just more active," she said, rubbing her swollen belly. "This one is going to keep us on our toes." She was right. Their daughter arrived a month early, tiny but fierce, with a cry that could wake the dead and her mother's determined expression. They named her Margaret after Benjamin's mother, and she proved to be everything they had expected: strong-willed, adventurous, and full of life. "2 children," Benjamin said one night, holding Margaret while Daniel played at their feet. "Our family is growing." "Is this enough for you?" Diana asked. "Or do you want more?" Benjamin looked at his wife, still beautiful despite the exhaustion of managing 2 small children, a part-time teaching job and helping with the ranch. "I want whatever makes you happy. If you want more children, I would love that. If you want to stop at 2, that is perfect too." "I think I would like 1 more," Diana said thoughtfully. 3 feels right, but not for a few years. Margaret and Daniel need attention now, and I want to return to full-time teaching when Margaret is older." "Then we will wait," Benjamin agreed. "We have time." The ranch continued to prosper. Benjamin's horse breeding operation became well known throughout New Mexico, and he sold trained horses to the army, to other ranchers, and to private buyers. The cattle operation remained steady, providing reliable income. They hired permanent ranch hands now, 2 men who lived in the bunkhouse Benjamin had built and helped with the daily work. Diana did return to full-time teaching when Margaret was 3, and the community celebrated having their beloved teacher back. She had a gift for making children love learning, and parents often said their children came home excited about school for the first time. Diana also continued expanding the library, which had grown into a significant resource for the entire town. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Benjamin took Diana to Santa Fe for a week, leaving the children with the Pattersons. It was their first time away alone since Daniel's birth, and they cherished the opportunity to reconnect as a couple apart from their roles as parents. "Do you remember the first time we met?" Benjamin asked as they walked through Santa Fe's plaza. "How could I forget?" Diana said. "I was half dead from dehydration, wearing a torn dress, and you looked at me like I was the most interesting thing you had ever seen." "You were," Benjamin said. "You are. Diana, these 5 years have been the best of my life. You have given me everything: love, family, purpose, joy. I wake up grateful every single day that you walked toward my ranch instead of away from it." "I think about that sometimes," Diana admitted. "What would have happened if I had followed the stagecoach driver instead? I probably would have made it to Lordsburg eventually, but I would not have met you that day. Our paths might never have crossed. It terrifies me to think about." "But it did not happen that way," Benjamin said, stopping to face her. "You came to me and I was ready to see you. We found each other exactly when we needed to. That is what matters." Diana kissed him right there in the middle of the plaza, not caring who saw. "I love you, Benjamin Oakley. I loved you from the moment you said that courage was all I needed, because you saw who I really was underneath the desperation. And I will love you until the day I die. And beyond that, if there is anything after," Benjamin said. "You are my home, Diana. Not the ranch, not Lordsburg, but you. Wherever you are, that is where I belong." They returned to find Daniel and Margaret thriving with the Pattersons, though both children squealed with delight at their parents' return. The house felt complete again with all of them together, and Benjamin realized that this was what he had been missing during those lonely years. Not just companionship, but family in all its chaotic, beautiful complexity. 2 years later, Diana became pregnant for the third and final time. This pregnancy was the easiest, and she taught until just 2 weeks before the baby arrived. Their second son was born in early spring, and they named him Thomas. He was a calm, easy baby, content to watch the world with thoughtful eyes. "Our family is complete," Diana said, nursing Thomas while Margaret and Daniel played nearby. "3 beautiful children, a wonderful husband, a life full of love and purpose. I could not ask for anything more." "Neither could I," Benjamin agreed, watching his family with profound contentment. "Everything I have, everything we built together, started the day you arrived with nothing but courage. That courage brought you to me, and it changed everything." The years continued to pass in a rhythm of seasons and growth. Daniel grew into a thoughtful boy who loved working with his father and the horses. Margaret was fearless and clever, always getting into mischief, but with such charm that it was hard to stay angry. Thomas was the peacemaker, gentle and kind, with his mother's gift for understanding people. Diana taught for 15 more years, shaping generations of Lordsburg children. When she finally retired at 45, the town threw a celebration in her honor, with former students coming from across the territory to thank her. Benjamin watched with pride as speaker after speaker talked about how Diana had changed their lives, how she had instilled in them a love of learning and belief in themselves. "You did that," Benjamin told her that night. "You touched hundreds of lives." "We did it together," Diana corrected. "You supported me, made it possible for me to keep teaching even with 3 children. You built a life stable enough that I could pursue my passion. None of it would have been possible without you." Benjamin was now 50, his dark hair streaked with silver, his body still strong from ranch work, but showing the wear of decades of hard labor. The ranch had grown into one of the most successful in the territory, with prime grazing land, a renowned horse breeding program, and a herd of 500 cattle. Daniel had taken over much of the daily management, showing his father's skill and his mother's intelligence. Margaret, at 19, had shocked everyone by announcing she wanted to attend the new teachers' college in Las Cruces. Diana was thrilled, seeing her daughter following in her footsteps. Thomas, at 17, was still deciding his path, interested in both ranching and possibly studying law. "Our children are turning out well," Diana said one evening as she and Benjamin sat on their porch, a ritual they had maintained throughout their marriage. "They are good people." "They learned from the best," Benjamin said. "You showed them courage and determination." "I showed them hard work and integrity. Together, we gave them a foundation." "Do you ever regret it?" Diana asked. "Taking in that desperate woman all those years ago?" Benjamin turned to look at his wife, still beautiful to him at 45, her dark hair now streaked with white, her face lined with laughter and sun. "Not for one single moment. Taking you in was the smartest thing I ever did. Marrying you was the second smartest. Everything good in my life came from those decisions." "Mine too," Diana said softly. "I walked through that desert thinking I had lost everything, but really, I was walking toward everything that mattered. I found love, family, purpose, and home. All because one cowboy looked at a desperate woman and saw courage instead of weakness." "That is all I need in a partner," Benjamin said, repeating the words he had said so long ago. "Courage to face life's challenges, to build something from nothing, to keep going when things get hard. You had that then, and you have it now. It is the foundation of everything we built together." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the land they had built into a thriving ranch and a loving home. In the distance, they could hear Daniel calling to the horses and Margaret practicing her teaching voice on Thomas. The sounds of family filled the evening air. Years continued to pass, bringing both joys and challenges. Margaret graduated from Teachers College and took a position at the expanded Lordsburg School, working in the very classrooms where her mother had taught. Thomas decided to go to law school in California, writing long letters home about his studies and his dreams of returning to New Mexico to practice. Daniel married a sweet woman named Sarah, the daughter of a neighboring rancher, and they built a house on the far edge of the property. Within 2 years, they had given Benjamin and Diana their first grandchild, a little girl named Clara. Diana cried when she held her granddaughter for the first time, overwhelmed by the continuation of the family she and Benjamin had built. "We are grandparents," she said, laughing through tears. "When did we get old enough for that?" "We are not old," Benjamin protested, though at 55 he definitely felt the years more than he once had. "We are seasoned." "Seasoned," Diana repeated, amused. "I like that better than old." More grandchildren followed as Daniel and Sarah had 2 more children, and Margaret eventually married a fellow teacher and started her own family. Thomas returned from law school and opened a practice in Lordsburg, quickly becoming known for his fairness and intelligence. Benjamin and Diana scaled back their work as they entered their 60s, letting the next generation take over primary responsibility for the ranch and the family. But they remained active and engaged, always available for advice or help, always interested in their children's and grandchildren's lives. On their 25th wedding anniversary, the whole family gathered at the ranch for a celebration. Children and grandchildren filled the house, spilling out onto the expanded porch and into the yard. There was food and music and laughter, and as Benjamin looked around at the gathered crowd, he felt almost overwhelmed by gratitude. Diana found him standing alone for a moment, watching the party. She slipped her hand into his, a gesture as natural after 25 years as breathing. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "That all of this started with one moment of courage," Benjamin said. "You, walking through the desert toward my ranch. If you had given up, if you had not had that courage to keep going, none of this would exist." "But I did keep going," Diana said, "because giving up was not an option, and you saw that courage and valued it. You built a life with me based on that recognition. We did this together, Benjamin." "Every bit of it." He pulled her close, not caring that their children and grandchildren could see. "I love you, Diana Oakley. I have loved you for 25 years, and I will love you for however many years we have left." "And I love you," Diana said. "My cowboy who saw past desperation to courage, who built a home and a family with me, who has been my partner in every way that matters." They rejoined the party, but Benjamin held onto Diana's hand, unwilling to let go. This was what mattered: family, love, the connections built over decades of shared life. The ranch would continue after they were gone, passed down through generations. But the real legacy was not land or buildings. It was the love they had cultivated, the courage they had valued, the family they had built from nothing but determination and hope. As evening fell and the party wound down, Benjamin and Diana stood on their porch one more time, watching their family leave in wagons and on horseback, calling goodbyes and promises to visit soon. When the last of them had disappeared down the road, the couple stood together in the gathering darkness. "A good day," Diana said contentedly. "A good life," Benjamin corrected. 25 years of building something real and lasting. I could not have asked for more." "We still have years left," Diana said. "I am not done with you yet, Benjamin Oakley," he laughed. "Good, because I am not done with you either." They did have more years, good years filled with watching grandchildren grow and helping their children navigate the challenges of adult life. Benjamin's hair turned fully white, and his body slowed with arthritis, but his mind remained sharp. Diana developed a slight tremor in her hands that made writing difficult, but her voice remained strong as she read to grandchildren and shared stories of the old days. When Benjamin was 72 and Diana 70, they decided to officially retire, turning the ranch completely over to Daniel and his family. They kept the main house, which Daniel insisted on, saying it would always be his parents' home. But the daily work of ranching passed to the younger generation. "It feels strange not to have responsibilities," Benjamin admitted. "Then we will find new ones," Diana said. "We can volunteer more in town, spend more time with the grandchildren, travel if you want. We have earned the right to choose how we spend our time." They chose to spend it together, as they always had. They took a trip to San Francisco, something they had talked about for years but never done. They hosted weekly dinners for any family members who could come. They sat on their porch every evening, talking and reminiscing and simply being together. "You remember that first day?" Diana asked one evening, returning to a question they had revisited many times over the years. "What you thought when you saw me?" "I thought you were the bravest thing I had ever seen," Benjamin said. "Walking out of that desert like you owned it, demanding water like you had every right. I had been alone for so long that I had forgotten what it meant to really see another person. But I saw you, Diana. I saw your courage and your strength, and I knew in that moment that my life was about to change." "Mine too," Diana said. "I saw a man who could have turned me away but chose to help instead, a man who offered not just water but hope. I fell in love with you that day, Benjamin, though I did not recognize it immediately. I fell in love with your kindness and your understanding and the way you looked at me like I mattered. You did matter. You do matter. You are the most important thing in my life, Diana. You always have been." They celebrated their 30th anniversary surrounded by family, and then their 35th. Benjamin's health began to decline, his heart weakening with age. Diana nursed him with the same courage and determination she had shown that first day in the desert, refusing to let him give up. "I am tired," Benjamin admitted one difficult evening. "I know," Diana said, holding his hand. "But I am not ready to let you go yet. We have more days together, Benjamin. I can feel it." He rallied, as he always did when Diana believed in him. They had 2 more good years, years of gentle days and quiet companionship. They celebrated their 37th anniversary with a small family dinner, and Benjamin told the story once again of how Diana had arrived with nothing but courage. "That is all anyone needs to start over," he concluded, looking at his grandchildren. "Your grandmother taught me that. Courage is worth more than gold or land or anything material. Courage is what allows you to build a life worth living." That night, in the bedroom they had shared for 37 years, Benjamin held Diana close and whispered, "Thank you for walking toward my ranch that day. Thank you for having the courage to build a life with me. Thank you for every day, every moment, every memory." "Thank you for seeing me," Diana whispered back, "for valuing what I had to offer, for building this beautiful life with me. I love you, Benjamin. I always will." They fell asleep in each other's arms as they had done thousands of times before. Benjamin died peacefully in his sleep that night, his heart simply giving out after 75 years of life and 37 years of deep, abiding love. Diana mourned him with the same courage she had shown in life, accepting the loss while celebrating the life they had built together. At his funeral, she spoke to the gathered crowd, her voice strong despite her grief. "Benjamin once told me that courage was all he needed in a partner," she said. "But what he gave me was so much more than that. He gave me love and respect and partnership. He gave me a home and a family. He gave me 37 years of waking up grateful and going to sleep content. That is the legacy of a good man, and I will carry it with me for whatever time I have left." Diana lived another 5 years after Benjamin's death, remaining active and engaged with her family and community. She moved in with Daniel and Sarah, who refused to let her live alone. She spent her final years surrounded by grandchildren and even great-grandchildren, telling them stories of the Wild West, of the day she walked through the desert toward a ranch and found her destiny. "Your grandfather saw me when I had nothing," she told them. "He valued courage over possessions, character over circumstances. That is the lesson I want you to carry forward. Material things can be lost in a moment, but courage and character last forever." Diana died peacefully at 75, sitting in a rocking chair on the porch she had shared with Benjamin for so many years. She was holding a photograph of Benjamin from their wedding day, and her face wore an expression of perfect peace. At her funeral, Daniel shared the story his parents had told so many times, about a desperate woman walking through the desert and a lonely cowboy who recognized courage when he saw it. He talked about how his parents had built not just a ranch, but a legacy of love and determination that would continue through generations. The ranch continued to thrive, passed down through the family. The main house remained standing, lovingly maintained by each generation. The porch where Benjamin and Diana had spent so many evenings became a place of pilgrimage for family members seeking connection to their past. Years later, when Clara, their first grandchild, was an old woman herself, she would bring her own grandchildren to the ranch and tell them the story. She would walk them to the exact spot where Diana had first stumbled onto the property, showing them where their great-great-grandmother had arrived with nothing but courage and found everything that mattered. "She came with nothing but courage," Clara would say, repeating the words that had become family legend. "And your great-great-grandfather said, 'That is all I need in a partner.' From that moment, everything we have now began. The ranch, the family, the love that binds us together. It all started with courage and the wisdom to recognize and value it." The story became part of family tradition, passed down through generations as a reminder that true wealth is not found in possessions, but in character, in courage, in the connections we build with others. Benjamin and Diana's love story, born from desperation and courage in the Wild West of 1878, became a foundation for a family legacy that stretched into the next century and beyond. Their graves stood side by side in the Lordsburg Cemetery, the headstones reading simply, "Benjamin Oakley, 1853–1928, a man who valued courage," and Diana Fairmont Oakley, 1855–1930, a woman who embodied it. Between the two headstones, their children had placed a small marker with a single inscription. Together they built a life from nothing but love and courage. Visitors to the cemetery, even those who were not family, often stopped at those graves, drawn by the simple words and the sense of something profound. They would stand for a moment, reading the inscriptions and perhaps wondering about the story behind them. Some would walk away inspired, carrying with them the message that courage and love can build something lasting even in the harshest circumstances. The ranch remained in the family, a working operation and a living memorial to the couple who had started it all. Each generation added their own improvements and innovations, but they always preserved the main house exactly as Benjamin and Diana had left it. The porch still caught the evening breeze, the kitchen still smelled of bread and coffee, the bedroom still held the quilt Benjamin's mother had made. In the house, in a place of honor, hung a painting commissioned by the family decades after Benjamin and Diana's deaths. It showed a young woman walking across the desert, her dress torn and dusty, but her head held high and her eyes fixed on a ranch house in the distance. In the foreground stood a cowboy, his hand shading his eyes as he watched her approach. The painting captured the moment that changed everything, the instant when courage and recognition met, and something beautiful began. Beneath the painting, on a brass plaque, were the words that had become the family motto. "She came with nothing but courage." He said that was all he needed in a partner. Together they built a legacy. And it was true. From that desperate moment in the desert, from that meeting of two souls ready to recognize and value each other, came generations of family, a prosperous ranch, and a love story that would be told and retold as long as the family endured. Benjamin and Diana had proven that courage is the foundation of everything worthwhile, and that when two people commit to building a life together based on mutual respect and deep love, they can create something that lasts far beyond their own lifetimes. Their story was not just about survival, though Diana had certainly survived her desperate walk through the desert. It was not just about love, though theirs was as deep and true as any love could be. It was about the fundamental human capacity to begin again, to build from nothing, to find hope and purpose even in the hardest circumstances. It was about recognizing value in unexpected places and having the courage to embrace it. In the end, that was the real legacy of Benjamin and Diana Oakley. Not the land or the buildings or even the family, though all of those were important. The real legacy was the proof that one moment of courage, recognized and valued by another person, can change everything. That a woman with nothing but determination, and a man wise enough to see past circumstances, could build something beautiful and lasting. Their story became legend, but it had been built from real moments. That first drink of water, the gift of his mother's dresses, the first dinner together, the wedding in the small church, the birth of their children, the quiet evenings on the porch, the final tender goodbyes. Each moment had been real, filled with the struggles and joys of actual life. And each moment had been built on the foundation of that first recognition. She came with nothing but courage. That is all I need in a partner. It was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything.